When you think about baseball cards, you probably picture some dusty old shoebox you'd find in an attic, right? But what if I told you that these little pieces of cardboard are actually artifacts, that they have these wild, surprising, and sometimes incredibly valuable stories baked right into them? Today, we are unpacking the real story of baseball cards.
So let's just start with a number, $12.6 million. Yeah, that's the real record-breaking price someone paid for a single baseball card back in 2022. That number alone tells you this is not just a kid's hobby anymore.
I know, it's insane, right? You have to ask the question, for one single piece of cardboard, how in the world is that even possible? Well, the thing is, the value isn't really in the paper itself. It's in the history, it's in the rarity, and of course, it's in the legends that are printed right on it.
And that leads us right into our first section, icons and insane prices. See, for a card to reach that kind of astronomical value, you need a perfect storm of a few things. Just how rare is it, what kind of condition is it in, and naturally, the story of the player himself.
And, in that world of super high-end collecting, there are 3 cards that really just stand out as the absolute titans. I mean, these are the benchmarks. They're what all the other valuable cards are measured against.
The scale we're talking about here is just mind-blowing. At the very top, you've got the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle. That's the current world record holder, sitting at a cool $12.6 million. Then you've got the legendary 1909 Honus Wagner, which is sold for over $7 million. And just to show you the power of modern players, a 2009 Mike Trout rookie card pulled in a stunning $3.9 million.
But here's where it gets interesting. Even though the Mantle card has the price record right now, the T206 Honus Wagner is what pretty much everyone considers the hobby's true holy grail. I mean, its backstory and its unbelievable rarity have earned it the nickname the Mona Lisa of baseball cards. It's the one. It's the card everyone dreams of finding in that dusty attic.
Okay, so let's move on because, believe it or not, it's not always about perfection. Sometimes the most famous cards are the ones with huge, glaring mistakes. We're talking about famous flubs and oddities, where a simple error accidentally ends up creating a legend.
And honestly, there is no better example of an error that became a legend than this one, the infamous FF card. And yeah, it earned that nickname for reasons that are about to become very, very clear.
So the story goes like this. Back in 1989, the company Fleer prints Billy Ripken's card. And well, there's a very clear, very explicit phrase written on the knob of his bat. Once the public found out about it, it caused an absolute frenzy. Fleer totally panicked and rushed to correct it. They released new versions with a black box or a scribble over the text, but all that did was make the original, uncorrected error card an icon of that era.
But not all errors are, well, quite so explicit. Sometimes the mistake is way simpler, but it becomes just as famous. I'm talking about when the entire image is just printed backward.
And this just illustrates it perfectly. On his 1957 Topps card, the legendary Hall of Famer Hank Aaron, who was a famously right-handed hitter, is shown batting left-handed. And the reason? It was just a simple, flipped photo negative during production. It's now a classic error card that collectors absolutely love.
But value isn't always about the money or the mistakes. Some cards are what we call sentimental favorites. These are cards where their real meaning is tied to a powerful, emotional story.
And there's no better example of this than Roberto Clemente's 1973 Topps card. The baseball icon tragically died in a plane crash on New Year's Eve in 1972. He was on a humanitarian mission. Topps released this card just a few months later. It's not exceptionally rare or anything, but that story behind it, that makes it one of the most beloved and deeply respected cards ever made.
So now, let's zoom out a little bit and look at the bigger picture. Let's talk about the cards that actually represent major turning points in the history of the hobby itself. These are the cards that changed the game.
The evolution here is just fascinating. It all started way back in the early 1900s, when cards were literally just tobacco stiffeners, little pieces of cardboard slipped into cigarette packs to keep them from getting crushed. Then came 1952, a huge landmark year. That's when Topps created the blueprint for the modern card as we know it. The whole game changed again in 1989. Upper Deck released its Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card, and that introduced the very idea of a high-quality, premium card, with fancy things like holograms. And then a massive shift happened in 2021, when Topps' incredible 70-year run as the official card of MLB finally came to an end.
So you really have to give credit where it's due.
That 1952 Topps set, which was put together by a guy named Cy Berger, is truly the cornerstone of modern collecting. It set the standard for the size, the design with stats on the back, and the sheer ambition that would define the hobby for the next 70 years.
So where does all this lead us? Well, to our final section, the future of collecting. The hobby has seen this unbelievable explosion in popularity lately, and new technology is pushing it toward a whole new frontier.
Just look at these numbers. During the pandemic in 2020, when we were all stuck at home rediscovering old hobbies, the trading card market grew by a staggering 142%. That's not a typo. It was this massive resurgence that brought old collectors back into the fold and created an entirely new generation of fans.
And that boom has created a completely new landscape. In 2021, the sports merchandise giant Fanatics got the MLB license, which ended Topps' 70-year monopoly. At the very same time, we're seeing the rise of custom digital baseball cards, designed specifically for the smartphone age. The field is just wide open, and it's being redefined as we speak.
Which leaves us with one final, really fascinating question to think about. We started this whole thing by talking about the Holy Grail, a 100-year-old piece of cardboard. But now, as collections are increasingly going digital, what would the next Holy Grail even look like?